I see a lot of AI videos on Harley Davidson recently, and a lot of different subjects turning into AI tube. But I want to point out something about made in America. I know Harley Davidson is not exactly 100% made in America, but it's kind of mostly. And I heard a lot of people to point out, the bikes aren't as good as Kawasaki, Honda, Yamaha, whatever, even BMW and all that. Maybe some of this is true, but my opinion, I got my opinion on things. But the point is that as an American, if you're knocking your own country, your own people, let me put it to this way, you're saying you're too stupid to freaking put a motorcycle together. Nobody in your country can do the job. Somebody else has to do it. Now, if you were over there, now they want to bring something home to you because a lot of people don't realize they think everything's the same like in the United States. Like they pretty much force diversity on us, right? I'm not talking about diversity of the clubs or nothing, but we got every single like race and nation in this country. It's all the same, right? And, it wasn't like that some decades ago, but it is now, right? Well, if you go over to some other countries, they're not like that. They're all like homogenous. They're all the same. And if you're one of the guys on the outside, I don't give a crap how hard you work. You're not going to be really treated like an equal. I know that's a fact because, being in the Marine Corps, I've been around a lot of countries and I saw, wow, it ain't really like, it ain't like over here, you're never going to be one of them. So, looking at the way things are rolling economically, it's a matter of time before the United States becomes a third world country because, we seem to have all this money supposedly, but a lot of that's because we have the world reserve currency and we can issue all this debt and everything like that to create more money. And, we just keep buying stuff made in China or whatever, and they accept our debt as payment. But that's going to come to a time where that's not going to be anymore. Now, if it turns out it flips and where it's like the pyramid flips and we're no longer on the top of the pyramid and other guys are, and they're coming over here, you know what? You're going to have to make that motorcycle just as good or better than the stuff they did, and you're not going to get rewarded for it financially. You're going to be like sweeping the floors and doing garbage work 12 hours a day. Like, you're just going to use you right the hell up. So, the people are actually knocking all this stuff like, oh, the Americans can't do this, the Americans can't do that. Well, I got to say that the ones guys that really stuck with, I'm showing here a lot of outlaw bikers and stuff, the people that really stuck with the American stuff, the fact that Harley Davidson wouldn't be around if it wasn't for our outlaw bikers. There's absolutely 100% truth to that. But why is it that way? It's because the outlaw bikers largely were patriots, or they were, if they weren't like former military, they were patriotic. They're pro this country. You remember all the time? Well, you guys probably don't remember because, I remember back in the 80s and stuff, in the 70s when the bikes were the late 70s, and the Japanese bikes were starting to come on the scene. They used to have at biker events, they give you like, you pay $10 and you get 10 shots with a sledgehammer on a Japanese bike, right? That's what was going on. It was like, there was actually like, we'd stick with our stuff no matter what. And the reality is with Harley Davidson, the whole company actually survived because of the guys that worked on the bikes fixed any of the shortcomings that were wrong with it. And, the company actually got it in gear basically later on and said, oh, yeah, we should do this. And then they fixed the shortcoming, too. Most of it's always been done on the outside of the company. As a matter of fact, almost all the new designs, like, that came about like in the 80s and stuff, the company didn't even make those. Those are already being done. The fat tire in the front with the fat boy and stuff. That was already being done in a custom world. Mixing the narrow glide onto the bigger frame and stuff from the Sportster front end on the bigger bike. That was being done before in the custom world, and it's guys that are actually, because the reality is we only have each other. That's why I get mad at some. These guys that don't freaking totally get it. I mean, go ahead, ride a Jap bike, ride a German bike, Italian bike, English bike, whatever the hell it is. But you don't really get it all the way because the reality is, it's only us. It's only us that we can depend upon. It's almost like you got to have like a tribal mentality a little bit. and that's the only way it's going to survive. And if the USA stuff is screwed up or it's worse, Harley during I don't. They're not really. There's always some shortcomings you can always overcome, but Harley had times when they had some stuff that was really screwed up, and still people stuck with them. You know, and that's the whole point. The point is, we're our own tribe, basically, we're our own nation. And if we don't freaking make nobody's gonna come in here and fix stuff for us. Right now, it's looking really, really good. Maybe that's going to change in 2026 because I think the rug is getting pulled out of the financial system pretty soon here. But it's never gonna be where some people from other countries are gonna come here and just, oh yeah, we're gonna fix everything for you people. Oh yeah, and here's a nice job for you and everything. Nah, it ain't gonna happen. No. So, I just want to put that out because, somebody says, oh, we still got Indian now. Indian's a pretty good bike, I mean, they also had the Victory too. That was another good bike. But, we're all we got. That's it. It's just us. This isn't like, people in America that kind of live in a bubble because they don't realize how it is in other countries, If you're not, they'll be friendly to you. Like if you go to another country, they can be friendly to you. But if you're actually there for a while and you realize you're not part of that group, man. I don't care what country it is. It's like you're not part of that group. And, that's why I think when you're buying the foreign stuff, who are you supporting? And I know you could say a Harley Davidson is not all for American. I know it's not. But it's mostly American, or it's the most American you get, except for, say, maybe Indians got more American than I don't know what the hell they got in there, but you know what I'm saying? And they say, oh, yeah, Hondas are being made in the United States. Well, you know what? All the money's going outside the country. Not saying that Honda's a bad bike. I mean, to tell you the truth, I like the Japanese, man. I was over there a while. I like the Japanese people, too, man. They got some pretty hardcore riders. But the point is, we're our own group over here. And if you freaking diss this group, the other group isn't going to come in and be nice to you when everything falls apart over here. We're all we got. And if we're making crappy products over here, what does that tell you? It says we make crappy products over here, so you buy something else from somewhere else. These guys, I don't think Harley is screwed up, in my opinion. I mean, there's a couple things here and there with all the different years that you can always modify them or to make them really super great, right? But these guys, all these clubs like this, they all ride Harleys, right? Or they at least ride American-made, right? But the thing is, you don't have to, they don't do this where they say, oh, we're gonna, get something from a foreign country because this bike is more reliable or something. No, we're sticking with our own stuff. It's like, say for instance in a club or something like this, you got a guy and say he's, you got all the outlaws or something, right? And you got all the banditos and you got all the pagans and the Hells Angels, all the Hells Angels and the Vagos and the Warlocks. And, you might say there's one guy there might be some guy in another club from your club that is actually, you respect more than some of the guys in your club. But does that mean you go to that and just, you know what I mean? It's almost the same thing. You don't want to, betray your nation. And that's really what I call it. You're betraying your nation when you're buying something foreign. And, I know it's not easy to do, but I try to do it as much as possible. And, I really don't have any respect for the guys that say, oh, I've been riding jet bikes for 20 years or 10 years, and, I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to sit there and argue with you, but I'm pointing out that, what you're saying is everybody in our country is so screwed up they can't build a motorcycle. And you can say that about this and that and everything else, right? But what is that saying? What do you do for a living? I'm sure you don't build motorcycles because you probably wouldn't be building crap, right? So why don't you go and turn a wrench and build motorcycles, right? You think the motorcycles are shit. I turn my own wrenches, man, and it's like I'm getting sick of this garbage. I see so many AI videos now that Harley Davidson is going down and those I don't know if it is or isn't. That Yukon Zykes guy really screwed it up pretty bad, but that's just a corporate piece of crap. Harley Davidson is not the corporate piece of crap on the top. It's all the individuals. I mean, just like YouTube. I mean, YouTube got screwed up because of AI Tube and the corporate CEOs and everything, and the jerks that just trying to make as much money as possible. It's not even YouTube anymore. It's AI Tube, right? But I'll look at it like this. If you're not gonna if you're gonna say like, everything in the United States is screwed up, or this is screwed up, and that's screwed up. That may be true. Maybe just you got some points. But if you don't freaking stick with your own guys, we're going down. We're gonna all go down together. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm riding a Harley all the time. I don't give a shit. I mean, the aftermarket parts I get, they're USA. My bike maybe was so many percent US. It's more percentage USA than it ever was even when I first got it. Both my bikes. Anyway, over and out. So that's all I got to say. Don't want to hear your lame excuses. Bye.